Who doesn't love tropes? There's always the blonde that gets killed by the big knife-wielding slasher. There's always that person that decides to run up the stairs instead of out the open door into the crowds of policemen. This, however, is a list that's about turning tropes on its head. With that, I'm Sean Ferrick for What Culture Horror, and here are 10 smart decisions made by extremely dumb horror movie characters. Number 10. Madison uses pepper spray, Zombieland double tap. Zombieland Double Tap finds Columbus, Tallahassee, and Wichita thrown into another undead adventure, this time trying to track down Wichita's missing sister. The group's quest takes an unexpected turn straight away when Columbus decides to take a super hot survivor, Madison, along for the ride. Despite the fact the ghoul-killing heroes need all the help they can get, Madison seems like the type of person who will end up getting everyone killed. This airhead is as dumb as a stump, never picks up on social skills, and doesn't understand how much danger they're in. When she claims the zombies are more afraid of us than we are of them, Columbus's party are left gobsmacked. Also doesn't know how binoculars work. So when a horde of revenants charge toward Columbus's gang, the odds aren't in Madison's favor, since she was the only one without a gun. But not only does she survive, Madison stops a zombie dead in its tracks with pepper spray moments before it chomps down on Wichita's neck. Even though this so-called bimbo is pretty unhelpful throughout the journey, Wichita would have been dead meat if it wasn't for Madison's intervention. Number 9. Walter keeps avoiding the possessed Prince of Darkness. John Carpenter's 1987 cult classic opens with a group of quantum theorists discovering a canister that contains the devil's spirit. Although the ensemble are terrified, they're also fascinated, since this scientific discovery is sure to change the world. But one of the scientists, Walter Fong, has zero interest in the fact that they've located the embodiment of Satan. While the others discuss how this revelation could rewrite human history, Walter makes bad jokes and feebly hits on the ladies. As narrow-minded as Walter seems, he has his wits about him when trouble's afoot, and when the canister's essence turns people into mind-controlled puppets, Walter's colleagues attempt to save them, which leads to those colleagues being infected as well. Walter, on the other hand, doesn't take any chances, running or hiding anytime his possessed pals show up. Even though he's a bit of a jerk, Walter does his best to protect his friends. When he hears Dr. Leahy nearby, Walter warns him not to come in since there's a demon in the room. Ever the hero, Leahy tries to rescue Walter, allowing the demon to infect him. Despite being immature and cowardly, Walter is among the few to survive the night since he never tried to play the hero. Number 8. Snyderman saves Carla, the Entity. The Entity centers around a single mother named Carla, who finds herself being attacked and violated by an unseen force. When she seeks advice from psychiatrist Dr. Phil Snyderman, he dismisses her. Even though Snyderman is in the wrong, his skepticism is fair. Being a man of science, Snyderman naturally finds Carla's story hard to swallow. But when Carla shows bruises and cuts from her assault, he still insists she's making it up. After the poltergeist breaks Carla's son's wrist, Snyderman is adamant she's lying. Not only that, Snyderman has the gall to accuse Carla of having a sexual relationship with her son. Fortunately, the incompetent doctor eventually makes amends. In the third act, Carla agrees to take part in an experiment to trap the entity with liquid helium. When the invisible being ruptures the freezing tank, the two scientists overseeing the experiment are too shocked to move. Fortunately, Snyderman recognizes the danger Carla is in and gets her out of the room before it's flooded with a sub-zero coolant. He might have been a jackass up until this point, but he was the only person who stepped in when Carla's life was in danger. Number 7. Tiffany, Bride of Chucky. It goes without saying that anyone who's head over heels in love with a serial killer is probably not a brainiac. That goes double for Tiffany in Bride of Chucky, since she's infatuated with a serial killer who happens to be a doll and dead. But after performing a ritual, Tiffany resurrects her old flame and prepares to marry him. When he laughs in Tiffany's face, the two get into a heated argument before Chucky kills her. After bringing her back to life as a doll, Chucky and Tiffany kidnap two elopers, Jesse and Jade, intending to transfer their souls into the young couple's bodies. As Chucky repeatedly chastises Tiffany, she eventually comes to her senses, realizing there is no future with him. But as Chucky is just about to be reborn as a human, Tiff literally stabs him in the back, and although Chucky manages to kill her, it keeps the devilish doll distracted long enough for Jesse to shoot him dead. She may have been an idiot and a murderer, but Tiffany redeemed herself in the end, at least until she returned to the sequels. Number 6. The Terenzi brothers hide in the freezer, killer clowns from outer space. With a title like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, it's no surprise the ensemble aren't the smartest bunch. Officer Mooney refuses to believe the clown invasion is real, despite countless reports. The protagonist, Mike, sees nothing suspicious when a circus tent magically appears in the middle of nowhere. Also, how come nobody figures out these demonic gestures are evil until it's too late? Then there's the Terenzi brothers, Rich and Paul. While the clowns are turning the townsfolk into candy floss, these goofballs are more interested in selling ice cream from their truck. The Terenzis clearly have their heart in the right place, since they venture into the circus UFO UFO to rescue abductees. However, they prove to be pretty useless after two buxom clowns encourage the duo to wander off, and when a giant clown blows up their truck while they're inside, it looks like Rich and Paul are goners. Or so it seems. In the final scene, the Terenzis appear, explaining to Mike how they shielded themselves from the explosion by hiding in the ice cream truck's freezer. Viewers have to admire the Terenzis' ingenuity, especially since it's the only clever idea they had in the entire film. Number 5. Big Daddy leads a coordinated zombie attack, Land of the Dead. In Land of the Dead, zombies have taken over the world, compelling the citizens of a Pittsburgh peninsula to seek sanctuary in a walled city. Most of the population live in squalor, but they're content enough, knowing the undead can't get in. But then the zombies learn how to, well, learn. While on patrol, the city's soldiers notice the cannibalistic ghouls are exhibiting signs of intelligent behavior, allowing them to adapt and avoid traps. One zombie in particular, a gas attendant called Big Daddy, proves he's not just smart, but strategic. Recognizing his kind don't need to breathe, Big Daddy leads his flesh-eating brethren underwater to reach an unsealed fence, allowing them to breach the city. When the city's corrupt ruler, Paul Kaufman, tries to hide in his car, Big Daddy pours it with gasoline before igniting it with a propane tank, blowing him to pieces. By human standards, Big Daddy is still as dumb as a bag of hammers, but considering he organized a successful invasion on a heavily guarded city, there's no denying that he still has a bit of grey matter working. Number 4. Rex figures it all out, My Little Lie. In My Little Lie, 5 strangers take part in a reality webcast, where they have to remain in a secluded house for 6 months to win $1 million. As the competition draws to a close, the showrunners send guns, bullets, and disturbing messages to the contestants, causing them to freak out. Despite this disturbing turn of events, the joker of the pack, Rex, laughs it off. While the other competitors try to get to the bottom of the situation, all Rex cares about is stirring gossip and hoarding supplies. It's also difficult to be on Rex's side, since this smug weasel makes it unmistakably clear he doesn't care about anything except winning the prize money. But in the third act, Rex does a total 180, becoming the most practical person of the group. Using a GPS unit and his laptop, Rex hacks into an encrypted beta site where he discovers the competition isn't real and his party are actually taking part in a snuff film. This twist is extra surprising since Rex seemed like the most unlikely person to piece it all together. Number 3. Ash cuts off his infected hand, Evil Dead 2. Ash Williams may very well be the dumbest hero in horror. The ex-supermarket clerk has saved the world from evil time and again, despite being what is commonly known as a moron. Although Ash has vanquished countless Deadites over the years, he often relies on his resourcefulness and adaptability rather than strategy or tactical thinking. Also, he almost ushered in Armageddon on several occasions. However, there's one moment in Evil Dead 2 where Ash proves he's not as stupid as everybody thinks. After a dark spirit possesses his hand, it looks like the boomstick blasting badass is doomed. Since every character infected with the malevolent force transformed into a Deadite, it seems like Ash hasn't a chance in hell of walking out of this alive. Luckily, Ash refuses to go down without a fight. Before the evil spreads to the rest of his body, Ash grabs a nearby chainsaw, lobbing off his infected hand. As smart as this decision is, Ash isn't done using his noggin. Recognizing how effective the chainsaw is, Ash attaches it to his arm stump, turning him into a bona fide killing machine against the Deadite horde. Number 2. Ed recognizes the gun is real, Shaun of the Dead. In a zombie apocalypse, survivors have to make sure they were surrounded by people who are adaptable, observant, and intelligent. With that in mind, it's hard to believe the ensemble in Shaun of the Dead lived as long as they did, considering they were stuck with Ed. When Shaun is first attacked by a zombie, Ed is more interested in taking photos of the encounter than saving his life. While his mates are doing their best not to draw attention to themselves, Ed has a full-blown conversation on his phone. After Shaun berates him for his stupidity, it looks like Ed might finally grow up. But when Shaun and his posse hide in the Winchester pub, Ed decides to play a blaring arcade game, alerting the skulking ghouls of their location. To his credit, there's one moment where Ed was totally in the right. While the zombified pub owner lunges at Shaun, Ed helps out by handing him an antique rifle. Shaun chastises Ed, pointing out the weapon is fake, and then the gun goes off. Realizing they can finally defend themselves, Ed keeps Shaun supplied with rifle shells, allowing the titular hero to keep the flesh-eating invaders at bay. Ed may not have survived, but his quick thinking allowed Shaun and the others to live another day. Number 1. Dale defeats the villain with T, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. Tucker and Dale are two hillbillies minding their business when they stumble upon an injured woman called Allison. When they take her back to their shack to rest, Allison's friends assumes the rednecks kidnapped her, encouraging them to try and rescue her. Even though neither of the pair are overly intelligent, it's obvious Dale is the lesser of the two. He may have a knack for trivia, but there's no question Dale isn't a highly educated man, since he can barely string a sentence together. However, Dale does manage to protect Allison by relying on his limited smarts. After Allison's admirer Chad is driven insane, he corners her and Dale with a chainsaw. Despite being surrounded by knives, bats, and saws, Dale decides to attack Chad with chamomile tea. Dale's strategy works, since Chad immediately starts choking, causing him to fall out of the window. Dale then explains to Allison that he knew the chamomile will come in handy, since it has a chemical that can trigger an anaphylactic reaction in asthma sufferers. This is a great moment, since even the smartest people tend to panic while in a life or death situation, but when Dale found himself in dire straits, his IQ shot up 50 points, allowing him to save the day.